My name is Ghostboy259 and I sailed far and lone. Far Lone Sails is a beautiful game developed by Akamotive that has no dialogue and really no direct story, and yet it manages to come across as a beautiful narrative despite all that. I went in with a few expectations, and not a single one of those was met. But by the end, I didn't even care because what I got was something that I believed to be much greater and more unique. The game sort of tricks you into thinking it's all about survival, but what you end up with is perhaps the most compelling and captivating atmosphere in a game I've ever played. If you want to tune in and watch me experience this game for the first time, you can head over to Reality Escape Plays and watch the highlight video. If you want to watch me play the games that I cover on this channel live, I stream at twitch.tv/ghostboy259. And if you want to help me make more of these videos and support me on Patreon or join our Discord to recommend me games, all the links are at realityescape.ca. The objective of the game is to pilot this vehicle, which you're never directly told what it's called, but at the very end you can see the word Akamotive on screen, which is also the name of the developer, so people have just grown accustomed to calling the vehicle that. Going from left to right, your job is to keep this weathered, broken down machine going. You'll pick up a few upgrades along the way, but the premise mostly remains the same. You have an engine which you press to move forward, a brake which you hit to stop, a buildup of steam that you need to clear out every so often, an incinerator that you burn random objects in to create more fuel, and later on you'll get sails to help you move forward without needing to burn energy. One really cool fact that I adore is that the sails work dependent on the wind movement. And it's not just is the wind moving or not, but the wind will actively blow both directions, and you have to keep an eye on the red flag on top of your car to figure out the wind direction. This is one of those small details that I adore and can make me fall in love with a game. In real life, it would be completely instinctual. If the wind is blowing the wrong way, it won't push you forward. But in a game, little details like that can get lost, or maybe the wind only blows in one direction and it becomes too simplified. But here, it isn't just wind on, wind off, it's wind off, wind forwards, and wind backwards, and it just adds a little bit more to the experience. You've also got a hose in your vehicle to put out fires if there should be some sort of disaster like a hailstorm, or maybe you crash your car into a wall a little too hard. Sometimes it can be caused by you neglecting your maintenance as well, so it's just important to stay on top of everything. And on either side of the vehicle you have a hook, which your character is actually strong enough to pull the car in both directions, but the front hook specifically has a mechanical pulley attached, so you can lift some heavier things with it. Upgrades include an item picker-upper, something you'd otherwise have to stop your vehicle entirely to pick things up and put them in your vehicle, and a repair torch in case things need to be repaired. Now, based on the description of this, it could very easily sound like this is a big management survival game, something like an FTL, where you have to constantly be maintaining all the systems to move forward, and you just try to survive until the end. Probably have to restart a few times, you die a lot. And it's a classic trial and error formula, and there's always nifty little strats to pick up, and you try new runs, and there's different RNG every time, but this is not that kind of game. While yes, there is resource management and maintenance involved, the main idea of the game is just to move forward to tell you the story. The game gives you all the resources you need. Everything is set. The hailstorms always come at the same time. There's no RNG you have to worry about. Things happen when the game intends for them to happen, and as a result, as long as you play competently and stay on top of everything, you will be just fine. The game wants you to succeed. I think they could have easily made a game way more into that difficult zone, but I do think dying and failing and resetting a lot would have taken away from the already very slow-paced story that sort of barely exists as it is, and also it just would have made it feel like a lot of other games. It feels very unique the way it is now. Now, there are definitely moments of panic and anxiety in this game where you are freaking out that everything is going to break, and it's just enough to make you feel overwhelmed and make you think every decision on what you should prioritize saving first, but it's not enough to make the entire game feel like that. Truthfully, I don't know what happens if you run out of energy or if everything breaks beyond repair because it never happened to me, but the game controls the pace, and it does so kind of masterfully. Right when you're taking in the environment and, dare I say, maybe you're a bit bored or eager for something to happen, then something will happen and put you into full panic mode for just a few seconds and then set you right back into the nice calming music. Sometimes it's fun just to be taken for a ride. There are a few quote-unquote puzzles in the game. When I say a few, I really mean a few. Basically, your vehicles will have points where it can't proceed, and you'll have to hop out to kind of figure out what to do, lift a gate, move an obstacle out of the way. Sometimes, and more often than I would like, the answer is just backing up and ramming into the barrier harder, and this is a mistake I made a few times. There's no real indication on when you can run through something unless you're already just going fast enough, but I tended to slow down so I wouldn't damage the car. But occasionally you'll have to hop around, activate some switches and elevators. It's a bit odd. I think the game doesn't really seem to know what it is when you're not in the vehicle, and outside of one part that gave me some trouble, the puzzles are more go through very obvious motions or find what to do and then easily do it, rather than, oh, this is a brain teaser, you have to move this here and then jump over here and do this. It's not like that. It's not going to make you feel smart to beat it. I would say these moments are a little bit out of place and, dare I say, the least enjoyable parts of the game, but I also do think that the game needed some parts outside of the vehicle. I think just doing the same thing the entire game would have made it drag on, no matter what kind of tension the game was building. And obviously, in a real-life situation, if you're in a car and there's an obstacle in your way, chances are you get out of the car, remove the obstacle, then keep going, so I understand the sentiment. I'm just not sure if this is exactly how I would have done it, or if this is the ideal way to do it, but in a 3-hour game that you spend maybe 20 to 30 minutes doing these kind of things, it's really not that big of a deal. The setting of the game is this post-apocalyptic world, but there's no zombies or struggling survivors or even much of like a social criticism. It's really just a broken and destroyed world, and you're trying to make your way from one side to the other without a single soul left to speak to. It's something that I think many games wouldn't dare try, and I do think this is where the length contributes to that. I'm not sure if you could play a 10-hour game in an empty world like this, but when it's 3 hours, it kind of adds to the experience. You can get away with it, but to do it in a much longer game would definitely require a lot of patience and figuring things out. I think it works perfectly for this game because so much of the implied story hinges on this feeling of isolation. There's no one to talk to, there's no one to tell you what to do, so there's no one to tell you what happened. In some moments, I almost found myself waiting for the story to suddenly begin or for some sort of context, and in doing that, it made me feel more alone, like I wanted answers, but there was no one to answer my questions. I also felt really alone because most of my Twitch chat was empty for this entire game, so I was just talking to myself out loud, but that's a little meta. I'm going to give a spoiler warning here, just in case you still haven't decided on if you want to play this game or not, and I think you should if you can. The game on its own is $17.50 Canadian, which is a bit much, but I've seen it go for less than $2 Canadian, and it's worth a sit down with it if you think it's your vibe for that price easily. In the last 30 minutes or so of the game, you come across this much bigger vehicle. It's like 25 times the size of what you've been operating, and it helps you get across this long river. You find what I presume to be tons of portraits of the creators of this machine, although once again, there's really nothing to say that's what it is, so you're kind of just making your own story with the portraits, and that's the beauty of it all. After solving what's probably the longest quote-unquote puzzle section of the game, the part where I got lost at the most, you get to the other side of this river. The music is incredible. It adds so much experience because you hear this big uplifting song and you think, this is it. I'm finally done the game. I'm moving on. Hit the credits. And then disaster strikes. After we get off the big machine, a storm comes out of nowhere and it strikes our vehicle, splitting it into two. This thing we've put so much care into is basically the closest thing we have to a friend. Even though we're taking care of it, it's still a companion. On its two front wheels, we drag it until we reach the shore of another huge body of water. We have no way to cross it this time. There are other machines that you can see abandoned in the distance along the shorelines, implying that other people have made it here too. And we light the lamp, which is basically a call for help, a call for life, to see if anyone is there. Perhaps we're waiting to see if someone can pick us up and save us. And as we slowly zoom out, the sky gets dark, our vehicle's light, the last thing to fade out. We don't know if anyone is coming. And even though we've never seen a single other soul in our entire journey, this is the first time you feel truly alone. For a game that has absolutely no spoken or written story to it, but to use its mechanics to get you so attached to this ratchety old machine, only for it to fall apart in the end and leave you truly isolated from anything else in the world, without a single word, without a single lore dump, it is nothing short of incredible. It's such human nature to humanize inanimate objects in light of nothing being there, i.e. Wilson from that Tom Hanks movie. And to have this ship that feels like something that you're both taking care of, but also something you're working with, like a partner, it feels like a gut punch to not only be stranded, but to be stranded without the only thing you had as a friend, the thing that kept you busy, the thing that helped you get to where you are. As I mentioned before, the game is about 3 hours long. The gameplay is a little repetitive, the puzzles are nothing to write home about, and the game has lots of moments where nothing is happening except for long drives, oftentimes in silence because the music isn't always there, and I love that too. And yet, even with the few difficulties I had on some puzzles that weren't really challenges but just information not being delivered clear enough, I don't think I would change very much, if anything, about this game. For what it is, it's a beautiful, tidy little experience. Extremely well done, and it's fun to look at, it's fun to play, and man, I just love games that give you that little hollow, empty feeling inside when you're done with them. I can't really explain why. I think it's just one of those pure emotions that you can't really fake, and when you're trying to hit that, you either hit it or you don't, and this game nailed it perfectly for me. I was thinking about this game for hours, days, weeks after I finished it. And I look forward to playing the sequel sometime soon. I'm cautious about it, but people I've talked to who have played it said they liked it, so one of these days we will get to that game. But for now, my name is Ghostboy259, and I played Far Lone Sails. Next time, I'll play something else. Thanks for watching.